fulfillment challenges at Caraway Home. My guest is Mark Riskowitz. He is Vice President of Operations at Caraway Home. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Robert. Thanks so much for having
joining
me. Thank you.
Tell me about Caraway Home. Who are you guys?
It's a great question. Caraway Home is a omnichannel retailer of kitchenware. We sell cookware, bakeware, more on the high-end side of the spectrum. We're pretty new and recent, only launched in 2019. And right now we're just trying to expand to as many channels as possible, retail presence, marketplaces, dropship, you name it.
So right from the start, were you omnichannel? Were you in brick and mortar stores and online when you were founded?
Not in the beginning. We just started D2C e-commerce and quickly grew from that point to dropship, marketplaces, and now we work with a number of retailers like Target, Crate and Barrel, and a few folks.
So the retailers, that was the second step in your evolution?
Yeah, I'd say second, maybe third step. The first was how could we leverage that same e-commerce model, dropship marketplaces, pretty easily without committing too much inventory, not getting into any consignment deals, anything like that. And so the retail play was probably, I'd say, about 2 years into it. We struck partnerships with Crate and Barrel, some exclusive color lines, and eventually moved our ways into Target, Nordstrom as well, and now the Container Store. Might be forgetting one or two, but that's what I'm thinking about right now.
Yeah. What is the setup in terms of your distribution operation? Do you have separate channels, separate flows, separate distribution centers for these two different types of fulfillment? Do you use it all in one place? How do you handle it?
So it's all in one place. Starting from the beginning of our supply chain, we use contracted manufacturers. We ship product into a 3PL. We have a single partner that has two locations, one in Reno, one in Whitestown, Indiana. And they actually run both e-commerce and retail fulfillment for us, just with different SOPs, models, but the same flow and the same systems from our side that send those relevant orders in those formats to them.
Great that you're able to do it all in one.
Yeah,
because that's a challenge for a lot of omnichannel retailers.
Certainly is.
What would you describe as your biggest challenge when it comes to fulfillment, whether in any channel?
I would say fulfillment, the biggest challenge is probably around the element of control that we tend to lose across the sort of order to delivery process. So relying on partners like your FedExes, UPSs, those folks, for a fulfillment perspective, you tend to eventually get to a point where you have to leave it up to them, right? And I think as a retailer, we are trying to provide a consistent experience across every customer that we work with, whether it's through a dropship partner, whether it's through a channel like Amazon, or it's through direct sales from our website. And I think harnessing that full end-to-end visibility and bringing that as a tool to us to use for our customers, keep them updated, I think is the biggest challenge, because it's so dynamic and so quick. That's probably what we find the biggest gap in.
You say you have to leave it up to them, but guess who gets blamed when something goes wrong?
Absolutely.
In the customer's eyes, it's you.
Absolutely.
They won't do business with you even if it wasn't your fault in the first place. So you have to somehow, maybe you don't have that control, but how do you make sure that you're still in the loop and that your brand is protected when a glitch or a disruption isn't your fault?
It's a great question. I mean, the approach that we've taken is we're very customer centric. And so what we like to do is own every interaction of that experience. So the moment a customer enters our ecosystem, if it's our website or if it's through a partner, what we love to do is really just over communicate all those different steps. And if there's any gap or failure in that process, package lost in transit, whatever the case is, we tend to jump in, be very proactive, and take responsibility for that, and really sort of center the brand front and right in front of them, and ultimately always have their back and let them know that whatever the situation, whether it's something that stalls in fulfillment or something that arrives damaged, doesn't matter, we'll cover it, because that's essentially the experience that we want to deliver to our customer base.
So what kind of technology tools do you bring to bear on the problem?
So we use a number of different SaaS platforms throughout the process. Our ERP that we use is called fulfill.io. It's a very operationally heavy ERP. It's not like the more legacy tools out there. So we actually use it for our order management system as well. We then connect all that through API to our 3PL, ITS Logistics. They have their own sets of systems. And what we tend to do is get very involved with all our partners, both on a software and physical infrastructure standpoint, so that we can understand where challenges are, what tech is maybe not communicating adequately, or where there's any gaps that we might be able to solve in the long run and ahead of more stressful seasons like holiday season or Q4, which is pretty large for us.
So the common theme among these applications that you just described to me appears to be communication.
Absolutely.
It's trying to be communicating both internally and with those partners.
That's correct.
Because an ERP, an enterprise resource planning application, isn't necessarily a tool for communication. It's often an internally focused type of thing. And yet somehow it seems like you're actually using that to reach out and communicate and get that information out to your partners. How interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what I've tend to see, in the research and experience that I've done is that ERPs are often just that system of record where they're a very sort of more static system that receives information history transactions that were completed after the fact. Whereas I like to kind of go from start to finish, really just use a system that has the operational ability and power to actually act as that executor as well. And so if you're able to merge those two together, you essentially aren't moving massive amounts of data between ERPs, OMSs, inventory management systems, which tends to be a lot more favorable, at least in a dynamic and sort of more modern approach. Then again, I like to think of our supply chain as relatively simplified in comparison to, of course, much bigger brands. But as we build and continue to do omnichannel, international, those sorts of things, we're always thinking about how do we tie that back to that centralized infrastructure and not have to foray into different systems.
You're making things more complicated for yourself every day by expanding, by every channel you bring in online and every partner you bring in, it just gives you more of a challenge. It's interesting how you seem to be addressing that. Share with us your lessons, though, in terms of what should modern brands do today in order to employ technology to achieve this kind of supply chain visibility and access to data. That's what it's all about. How should these brands follow your lead and achieve that goal?
I would say that the sort of tagline I could use is respect the supply chain. And what I mean by that is there's all these different systems and tools that are designed to really just provide that element of visibility and functionality around the physical framework that supply chain runs through from start to finish. And I think that there's a lot of neglect in how much respect is given towards that. I think we've all benefited from having a bit of a spotlight in the past couple of years, and the level of respect that our industry has sort of gone up a notch, mainly for the wrong reasons, I would say. But I think what it has done is it's put a spotlight on the importance and sort of severity of if you don't have the respect for the systems, the process, and the ability to really just stay as dynamic as possible, you might run into some challenges that can you may not be able to recover from. And so I think that's the biggest thing I would advise others for, and I would start by saying overinvest in the technology that your supply chain needs.
Thanks so much, Mark. I really appreciate your insights. Good luck to you guys at Caraway Home. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me.
I have been speaking with Mark Riskowitz of Caraway Home. Thank you very much for watching.